A moonless night on the Santa Barbara coast, where the sound of crashing waves masks the whispers of betrayal. Elena Vasquez stands over a lifeless body, her EMT uniform stained with blood that isn't hers, while police sirens wail in the distance. In her trembling hand lies evidence that could destroy everything she's worked for or save the lives of countless others. Tonight, 3 family members will face a choice that will either tear them apart forever or forge them into an unbreakable bond. The emergency call comes at 2:17 a.m. on a foggy Tuesday in March. Elena Vasquez grips the steering wheel of her ambulance, racing through the empty streets of Santa Barbara. At 34, she's seen enough overdoses to fill a cemetery, but something about this one feels different. The caller's voice had cracked with genuine terror, not the usual detached indifference of frequent users. She arrives at a rundown apartment complex, where the scent of salt air mingles with something darker. Inside, a 19-year-old girl lies unconscious, her lips already turning blue. Elena works with practiced precision, administering Narcan and checking vitals, but her trained eye catches something unusual. The drug paraphernalia scattered around the room bears markings she's never seen before, tiny stamps that look almost official. "Come on, sweetheart, stay with me," Elena whispers, performing chest compressions. The girl's pulse flutters back to life, and Elena breathes a sigh of relief. As she prepares the gurney, she pockets one of the stamped bags, something her military training tells her might be important later. At the hospital, Elena watches as the girl, Sarah Martinez, according to her ID, stabilizes. But the doctor's words chill her blood. This is the 3rd case this week with the same synthetic mixture. It's almost like someone's testing a new formula. Elena's fingers unconsciously touch the evidence in her pocket, and a terrible suspicion begins to form. 3 days later, Elena sits in her modest apartment, still haunted by Sarah's face. Her cousin David calls just as she's examining the suspicious drug package under a magnifying glass. Commander David Vasquez of the Coast Guard has always been her anchor since childhood, the steady presence who helped her through her divorce and supported her dream of becoming an EMT after her military service. "Elena, I need to ask you something." David's voice carries an unusual tension. "Have you noticed anything strange about the overdose cases lately? Any patterns?" She hesitates, then tells him about the stamped bags. David's silence stretches long enough to make her nervous. "Meet me at the pier tomorrow at noon," he finally says. "And Elena, don't trust anyone else with this information." Not yet. The next morning brings unexpected visitors. Sergeant Rick Morrison and his partner knock on Elena's door with a search warrant. Morrison, a 39-year-old veteran cop with bloodshot eyes and a nervous twitch, claims they've received reports of missing controlled substances from her ambulance. "This is ridiculous," Elena protests as they tear through her belongings. "I've never stolen anything in my life." Morrison finds the drug bag she'd kept as evidence, his eyes lighting up with cruel satisfaction. "Really? Then explain this." His hands shake slightly as he holds up the package, and Elena notices the telltale signs of drug use she's learned to recognize: the dilated pupils, the constant sniffing, the barely controlled aggression. "That's evidence from a scene," she explains, but Morrison is already calling for backup. "Elena Vasquez, you're under arrest for theft of controlled substances," he announces, and Elena realizes she's been set up. But by whom and why? David meets Elena at the police station, his Coast Guard uniform commanding immediate respect. After posting bail, he drives her to a secluded beach house where the sound of waves provides cover for their conversation. "Morrison's dirty," David says without preamble. "We've been tracking a drug pipeline that uses fishing boats to bring product up from Mexico. Someone inside the police department has been providing protection, and stolen evidence keeps disappearing from lockup." Elena pieces it together quickly. "The drugs I found, they were from police evidence, weren't they? That's why they had those markings." David nods grimly. "Morrison's been stealing seized drugs and cutting them with dangerous synthetics to increase volume. He's killing kids for profit, Elena, and now he's trying to frame you to cover his tracks." They spend hours planning their next move. David has been building a case, but he needs solid evidence of Morrison's involvement. Elena, despite the charges hanging over her head, volunteers to help. "This isn't just about clearing my name," she says, watching the sunset paint the ocean orange and pink. "That girl, Sarah, she could have been anyone's daughter. How many more will die if we don't stop this?" Their plan is dangerous, but simple. Elena will wear a wire and try to get Morrison to confess, while David coordinates with honest federal agents who've been investigating the corruption from outside the local system. The setup happens at Morrison's favorite bar, a dingy establishment near the docks where off-duty cops gather to complain about their jobs. Elena arrives wearing the hidden recording device, her heart pounding as she spots Morrison hunched over a whiskey at the far end of the bar. "Buy you a drink?" she asks, sliding onto the stool beside him. Morrison looks up, his eyes unfocused from alcohol and whatever he's been using. "If it isn't Santa Barbara's newest criminal," he slurs. "Come to thank me for the lesson in how the real world works?" Elena forces herself to smile. "Actually, I wanted to talk business. If you're moving product anyway, maybe there's room for someone with medical access. Morrison's interest sharpens, and over the next hour, fueled by alcohol and cocaine paranoia, he reveals everything: the Mexican connection, the stolen evidence, the synthetic cutting agents that are killing users. He even admits to planting evidence on Elena when she got too close to the truth. "You think you're so high and mighty," he rants, "but everyone's got a price. Even your Coast Guard cousin has to know something's going on with all those boats we let through." Elena's blood runs cold, but she keeps Morrison talking until he passes out at the bar. She signals David, who's been monitoring from outside, and within minutes, federal agents move in. The arrest is swift and decisive. Morrison's apartment yields enough evidence to bring down the entire network: lists of corrupt officers, drug distribution records, and communications with cartel contacts across the border. 6 months later, Elena stands on the same beach where she and David planned Morrison's downfall. The federal investigation has cleared her name completely and resulted in the largest police corruption bust in Santa Barbara's history. Morrison is serving 25 years in federal prison, and the drug pipeline has been permanently severed. Sarah Martinez, the girl Elena saved that night, has completed rehabilitation and enrolled in community college. She stops by Elena's work sometimes, a living reminder that second chances are possible when good people refuse to give up. David has been promoted to captain for his role in exposing the corruption, but he insists the real hero is Elena. "You risked everything to do what was right," he tells her as they watch the sunset paint the Pacific in brilliant colors. Elena has returned to her EMT duties, but now she also volunteers with a non-profit that helps addiction recovery. The experience has changed her, deepened her understanding of how easily people can lose their way, and how important it is for others to throw them a lifeline. "We can't save everyone," she reflects, watching dolphins play in the surf, "but we can try to save someone. And sometimes, that someone might just save us back." The California coast stretches endlessly before them, beautiful and dangerous, much like life itself. But Elena has learned that with courage, family support, and an unwavering commitment to truth, even the darkest nights eventually give way to dawn. Share your own stories of everyday heroism in the comments below. Your words might inspire someone else to be brave when it matters most. And if you believe these stories of courage and redemption deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button to join our community of people who believe in the power of doing the right thing, even when it's the hardest thing. Because in the end, we're all connected by the same coastline of human experience, and together, we can make sure the tide always turns toward justice.